Some people entered Harvard through grand admissions and formal interviews, others through legacy donations and quiet favors. But people like Amira Ellis came in the back way, through the service corridors, armed with nothing but a battered keycard, a mop, and a dream she hadn't dared speak aloud for years. Each night, Amira adjusted her faded navy jacket, checked the loose knot of her old sneakers, and pushed through the cold marble halls of Jefferson Science Building. It was always around 1:42 a.m., the campus nearly deserted, silent but for the distant hum of heating vents and the muffled shuffles of other night workers. While the world of academia slept, she swept and scrubbed the corridors of brilliance, passing doors engraved with names like Dr. Harlow and Professor Nguyen, wiping chalk dust from lecture podiums, cleaning whiteboards scrawled with the dense graffiti of genius. No one paid her any mind. She preferred it that way. But that night, when she reached room 324, something froze her in place. The board was alive, still thick with equations from that day's lecture. A single desk lamp glowed softly over it, throwing long shadows across rows of empty chairs. Amira's breath caught. She edged closer. It wasn't just any math problem on the board. It was beautiful. An optimization matrix with nonlinear constraints, woven so intricately it looked almost like calligraphy. It tugged at something deep inside her, something she had buried long ago. Without thinking, she dropped the mop against the wall and reached for a piece of chalk. Her hand trembled, not with fear, with longing. Line by line, she wove herself into the problem, not erasing the professor's work, but building on it, careful, respectful, bold in the way only someone starved of opportunity dared to be. Her mind raced ahead of her hand, fingers smudged with white powder as she worked through variables, corrected coefficients, explored nested objectives. In the parking lot outside, under flickering lamps, Professor Elijah Harlow cursed softly to himself. He'd left critical notes inside 324, the final components for a presentation that would debut at the Cambridge Symposium. 8 painstaking months of refinement. He slammed his trunk shut and jogged back toward the building, muttering about absent-mindedness and the incompetence of graduate assistants. When he re-entered the building at 2:06 a.m., he didn't expect anyone to be awake. Certainly not a janitor in room 324, standing before the chalkboard as if it were the Sistine Chapel. He opened the door without a sound and froze. The woman didn't hear him. Her back to him, small, wiry frame outlined against the flood of equations. Her gray cap was pushed back slightly, exposing short curls. And she wasn't just looking, she was writing, refining, correcting, completing, with perfect symmetry. Elijah's pulse ticked faster. He moved closer, studying the board. What she had written was breathtaking, a restructuring of the final constraint, the piece he himself hadn't yet solved. She turned. Their eyes met. The chalk fell from her fingers and cracked against the floor. "I'm sorry," she blurted. I didn't mean. I didn't touch anything, I swear." "What exactly were you doing?" His voice was sharp but not unkind. She swallowed. "I was trying to understand. It's a nonlinear matrix problem, right? With nested objectives?" He moved closer, frowning. "That's not a guess. Who taught you that?" She lowered her eyes. "No one." He stared. "I used to watch online courses. MIT OpenCourseWare. Before I dropped out." "Dropped out of where?" He pressed. "High school." Her voice barely a whisper. "Senior year. My mom got sick. Stage 4. I started working nights. 7 years ago." Silence settled heavy between them. Elijah stepped forward, picked up the chalk she'd dropped, and without a word, began writing beneath her additions. Correcting, elaborating. Then he paused. "You were wrong," he said finally, "on the coefficient of friction, because I introduced a new constraint yesterday." Her heart plummeted. "But," he continued, "you were dangerously close. Closer than some of my second-year graduate students." She blinked. Was he joking? Was he mocking her? He wasn't. He was serious. "Tomorrow," he said, already halfway out the door. 7 p.m. My office. Room 407. Don't wear the uniform. Bring your brain." And then he was gone, leaving Amira alone, heart pounding, staring at the chalkboard, and for the first time in 7 long years, feeling something bloom inside her. Hope. The next evening, precisely at 6:59 p.m., Amira stood trembling outside room 407. She wore her best clothes, a second-hand blouse and slacks from Goodwill, and clutched a battered notebook to her chest. Inside, Professor Harlow didn't look up when she entered. He gestured to a seat. She sat stiffly, waiting for the hammer to fall. You think you're here for a reprimand, he said flatly. She nodded. You're wrong. She blinked. What you did, that wasn't luck, he said. That was mastery. Raw and undisciplined, but mastery. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside was a sheet of paper. A single line of text. If she still wants it, let her in. Yh. I pulled your old records, he said. Top percentile. Full ride offer to MIT. Then, nothing. My mother died, she whispered. I had to survive. And you did, he said simply. I've submitted your name to Harvard Extension School. Placement test is next month. Full tuition covered. If you pass. Her breath caught. If I pass? You will, he said. And when you do, you'll clean less. Study more. One day, maybe even teach. Tears stung her eyes. But she blinked them away. I won't waste it, she promised. You'd better not, he said, but his voice was gentler now. Harvard can afford a lot of things. Wasting talent shouldn't be one of them. Her new life began at midnight. Work from 6 p.m. to midnight. Study from 12:01 a.m. until exhaustion claimed her. She haunted empty classrooms, filling whiteboards with notes, theories, proofs. Her only companions were stale coffee, half-eaten peanut butter crackers, and hope. Other students passed her sometimes, snickering. The janitor doing calculus. Cute. She ignored them, because dreams were not built for their approval. Professor Harlow checked in occasionally, brief glances through the door, a rare nod. Nothing more. She didn't need more. His belief burned steadier than applause. By the fourth week, she was exhausted beyond reason. One night, collapsing into a desk, she whispered, "What am I doing?" Her phone buzzed. Hard problems don't get solved overnight. But strong minds don't quit. Yh. She smiled through her tears, picked up the chalk again, and kept going. Placement day arrived. Room 501. 3 professors behind a heavy oak table. 1 test. 3 hours. No calculators. No mercy. The first problem was brutal. The second worse. The third, almost elegant. She fell into the rhythm, logic singing under her fingers, equations unfolding like poetry. Until problem 8. An abstract. Not what. Why? Why does this structure matter? Self-doubt roared back. You don't belong. But then she remembered. You are the brightest thing in every room. She wrote, line after line. When time was called, she stood, hands ink-stained, exhausted, but standing. As she handed over her paper, she heard one professor mutter to Harlow, even if she passes, a janitor? And Harlow, without missing a beat, replied, it says we finally remembered what potential looks like. 3 days later, an envelope slipped under her apartment door. Harvard seal. Inside. Congratulations, Miss Ellis. Welcome to Harvard Extension School, Mathematics Program, full tuition awarded. Handwritten at the bottom. You didn't just pass. You outscored every applicant. Welcome to the other side of the chalkboard. Yh. Amira sank to the floor, clutching the letter. And for the first time in years, she smiled a real smile. Not survival. Not gratitude. Victory.